Tonight on Nova, a mystery in the icy depths of Loch Ness.
So this black hump came out of the water.
About 30 feet in length.
Eyewitnesses bring the legend of Loch Ness to life. Can science bring proof to the surface? Is Nessie a prehistoric monster or elaborate hoax? An expedition launches a search for the answer. The Beast of Loch Ness. Major funding for Nova is provided by the Park Foundation, dedicated to education and quality television.
And by iOmega, makers of personal storage solutions for your computer, so you can create more, share more, save more, and do more of whatever it is you do. iOmega, because it's your stuff.
This program is funded in part by Northwestern Mutual Life, which has been protecting families and businesses for generations. Have you heard from the Quiet Company? Northwestern Mutual Life.
And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like you.
In the remote highlands of northern Scotland, there is a place of haunting beauty, steeped in mystery. Loch Ness. Beneath this windswept surface lies one of the world's deepest bodies of water. It is a cold and forbidding environment. Drowning victims sink without a trace in the icy depths. Divers fear becoming disoriented in the eternal night. Ever mindful of the legend of Loch Ness. Many centuries ago, the people of these hills believed that a beast roamed these waters. In this century, thousands of sightings have brought the legend to life.
I'm driving along the loch side, glancing out of the window, and I saw this, as I say, described to me like this boiling in the water.
And I looked up at the loch, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this black hump came out of the water.
About 30 feet in length and nearly 10 feet in height from the water to the top of the back.
It seemed as if it had been still and started to move off, but there was a neck.
And it flipped over, just flipped right over like that, crashed down, and you could see it.
There's the chance, I've seen something in the water, but what is it?
Is this what they are seeing? A photograph taken in 1934 shows an unknown animal, or an elaborate hoax. This film was shot by an aeronautical engineer in 1960. When computer processed for Nova, it shows a featureless black hump, quite different from the boat filmed later that day for comparison. Both are moving at 10 miles an hour. Photographic experts at the Royal Air Force concluded that the hump is at least 6 feet wide and 5 feet high. Probably an animate object. Is there something here? Many have tried to solve the mystery without success. But the quest continues.
Okay, let's go, fellas.
Today, a new expedition arrives to search the Loch.
All our bugs out of our equipment.
The leader is Bob Rines. Rines is a man of many accomplishments. A respected patent attorney and founder of a law school, he was trained in science and engineering at MIT and helped in the development of both radar and sonar. But his true passion is a pursuit few scientists take seriously: the hunt for the Loch Ness Monster.
If you don't have an open mind, in my judgment, you're not a scientist. If you don't have ideas, if you don't have adventure, if you don't have an open mind, you'll never make a discovery. And I think there's a misconception that science has to be something rigid, something sponsored by NASA or the government or millions of dollars. I mean, a scientist is a scientist. I don't care where you put him.
Rines' longtime partner in the search is Charles Wyckoff, a photographic innovator with over 60 patents to his name. Wyckoff created the film stocks that captured the first images of atomic bomb explosions and moon landings. It took time for this scientist to warm to the idea of the monster.
At first I said it was a myth, then I became an agnostic. And then pretty soon I said, gee, you know, there's more to it than that. I guess there's something down there. And then I got really intrigued. And the more instrumentation I cooked up, the more intrigued I became.
For these two men, this expedition might well be the final chapter in a quest that began some 30 years ago, when Rines became intrigued by the mystery on a chance visit to Loch Ness.
We can still do it, can't we?
Yep.
As a lawyer used to dealing with eyewitness testimony, he found the accounts of sightings persuasive.
I just got this strong feeling that everybody wasn't a liar. Everybody wasn't a fool. That there was something there.
His hunch turned to conviction in the summer of 1972, when he and his wife Carol had an experience that would forever haunt them.
And we came out on the field, over there, we looked down, and there was this big grayish hump. It went out against the wind currents into the mouth of Wyckoff Bay. It turned around and came back right in front of us and sank.
The sighting inspired Rines to mount an expedition combining old technologies in new ways. He aimed a sonar out into the depths and nearby placed a camera with a strobe light to take pictures every 45 seconds. After weeks of waiting, the plan finally paid off.
Early in that morning, about 1 o'clock, we began to see the salmon jumping all over this bay. The rivers were dry, so they couldn't go up to spawn. And we could see it on the sonar, too. You see the fish moving. And then this big target came in on the sonar. And we were praying. It was just the right distance that the Edgerton camera could pick up something if we were lucky.
For thousands of frames, there was nothing. Then, suddenly, 3 frames showing an object reflecting the strobe light back at the camera. After computer enhancement at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the image revealed a flipper-like shape some 6 feet long.
We got at least 3 frames corroborated by similar images on the sonar target. That was a thriller.
Rines' excitement was shared by his mentor, Harold "Doc" Edgerton, a legendary figure at MIT, the inventor of both strobe photography and side-scan sonar. Edgerton would be an active participant in Rines' later expeditions. New sonar hits, and this image, in which some see the body and neck of a large animal, helped to win another important convert. one of Britain's most respected naturalists, Sir Peter Scott.
Is that there is a body of evidence which I am prepared to accept, which cannot be explained in terms of known phenomena.
With the support of Egerton and Scott, the idea of the monster gained new credibility. In 1975, Rines and Scott were invited to write an article in the prestigious scientific journal Nature.
In the door.
They were also given the chance to present their findings in a highly charged hearing at the House of Commons.
Our sole objective, to get the zoological community all over the world, as well as other scientists, to analyze what we have produced, and indeed to debate what these things may be, and to get sufficiently interested that scientists dare to come to Loch Ness.
For a moment, Rines had the attention of the scientific world. But his case for Nessie was soon embroiled in controversy. The flipper photo, already computer-enhanced by NASA, somehow became this image, raising doubts about its validity. Even more controversial was Peter Scott's bold conclusion, based on the eyewitness sightings and the shape of the flipper, that Nessie was a plesiosaur, a prehistoric aquatic reptile believed to have died out some 65 million years ago.
So it seems to me we should
Zoologists at the British Natural History Museum ridiculed the idea.
It seems to me that we've been invited to accept that in a relatively small body of water, in what is, from the zoological viewpoint, one of the best explored countries in the world, we have a population of large predatory reptiles which could be warm-blooded and which might even be cannibals with snorkels. Now, this I find very difficult to take.
We fought shy a little bit of the Loch. One of my predecessors at the museum was actually sacked from his job for going up on the Loch. And probably the monster here has had a very bad effect on science, in that many scientists had a nervous twitch when the Loch was mentioned, for reasons you'll quite understand. It could be the kiss of death to your career.
I think they got frightened. Those who make their living from this as zoologists are not ready to believe, on the basis of one picture, that something that should have been dead 65 million years ago is still existing in some form at Loch Ness, Scotland.
As the years passed, with no follow-up by zoologists, Rines felt growing pressure to settle unfinished business. With only Wyckoff left of the original team, it is now or never.
Recently, Charlie and I looked at each other. Matter of fact, on his 80th birthday. He says, oh my God, Doc Egerton's dead, Sir Peter Scott is gone, Carol Rines is gone, and here we still are. He said, I think we owe it to them to go back with improved technology, try to duplicate the experiments where we were successful before, just to see if there's still something left in that loch. And if there is, to have a bag of tricks to do much better to try to photograph it.
But searching Loch Ness is harder than it looks. Stretching 24 miles from the Cross Scotland Caledonian Canal to Inverness, where the River Ness empties out into the sea, the loch fills a deep chasm with sheer walls that plunge 800 feet down, making it the largest body of water in the British Isles. To search this vast expanse, Rines has assembled a team of volunteers from the world of science and engineering.
Indication of wake. Thanks, Gordon.
I knew the line I was trying to not wind, it was just a bit new.
Hey, Arnie. How are you?
The sonar experts, oceanographer John Fish and marine biologist Arnie Carr, are partners in American Underwater Search and Survey, one of the leading sonar companies in the world.
I specialize, and my partner specializes in locating hard-to-find underwater targets. So I just view this as another opportunity to look in a body of water we haven't been in before.
High above the loch, Fish and his assistant install a relay station for their global positioning system, a key tool in Rines' new, more aggressive search strategy. Instead of waiting for the monster to come to him, this time, Rines will sweep the loch with sonar. If the sonar team finds a target, the GPS will give them a precise location.
The UHF transmitter.
The camera team, close behind in a second boat, will then move in and attempt to capture the target on film.
I made a slight change in the camera, so we better make sure this thing is going to fit all right.
Okay, I'll open up the front.
Getting pictures will take all of Wyckoff's ingenuity.
You got the frame? You got the frame?
Loch Ness is filled with peat particles washed down from the surrounding hills. The yellow haze limits visibility to a few feet.
It's like driving down the road at night in a fog. Your headlights create this fog and you can't see the road. Now, if we could separate the headlights off to the side, you'd have a better chance. You'd see the road. So I'm doing the same thing here. I'm separating the light source from the camera.
With most of the expedition's limited funds devoted to sonar, Wyckoff and his colleague, Sheldon Apsell, have had to improvise. In the best MIT tradition, they have assembled a rig with a low-light video camera and car headlight mounted on an aluminum frame left over from an expedition in the 70s.
We don't own very much of the equipment. We're known as scroungers, and most of us are MIT, and that's a natural thing at MIT.
So all this stuff that looks like it came out of somebody's garage actually works?
It actually works, yeah. It worked 20 years ago, it'll work now.
The final team member will play a very different role.
Hello, Bob.
Hey, hi there, Adrian.
Well, a long time. What are you up to?
We're gonna scour the...
Local naturalist Adrian Shine came to the loch 20 years ago in the hope of solving the mystery. But his research has convinced him there is no monster here.
Side scan and...
you don't give up, do you?
Never give up, never give up.
Despite their strongly opposing views, Rines has asked Shine to lend his expertise to the expedition.
I've been granted an input to this expedition, the sort of resident skeptic, and it's a role that I am actually fulfilling to what extent I can.
With the preparations completed, Rines, anxious to get started, briefs the team.
Science. But now the time has come for us to get going. We only got 5 days with all the equipment for purposes we basically came here for. We got to scour this lake.
A quarter of a century after his first attempt, Rines is back in the hunt.
Doc Edgerton would call me every couple of months. When are you going to give up what you're doing, a crazy practice of law, to do something worthwhile? To identify what these big things are that shouldn't be here in Loch Ness. And I just didn't listen. Now I'm listening. I hope it's not too late.
The lead boat is packed with high-tech gear. Attached to the hull is a fish-finding sonar pointing straight down from surface to bottom. It will supplement the expedition's primary search tool, side scan sonar. While it still looks like Edgerton's original device, today's model is far more sophisticated. Pulled below and behind the boat, the side scan towfish sends out a sound impulse, or ping, in a 180-degree arc. Sound waves traveling through the water reflect off objects in their path. Signals arriving back at the towfish are sent up the cable to instruments on the boat, which gradually build up an image of the underwater environment. Any unusual mark on the printout will alert the operator to a potential target. As the sonar team begins its search, the mood is optimistic. In a lake where the largest known fish is a salmon, reports of moving sonar targets up to 15 feet long have persisted over the last 10 years. The most ambitious search ever made of Loch Ness was Operation Deep Scan in 1987. A flotilla of boats mounted with fish-finding sonar spent a week sweeping the loch. Most of the targets they encountered had a logical explanation, but not all. Expedition leader Adrian Shine.
3 contacts we still can't explain, but that does not mean we never will explain them.
In 1994, the British Natural History Museum took part in Project Urquhart, the first major effort to study the ecology of the loch. monsters were not on the agenda. Yet its sonar experts said they too found large moving targets.
It's hard to say exactly what it was. We followed it for at least 7, 8, 9 minutes. But it's very difficult to say exactly what it was.
They did find all sorts of interesting sonar targets, including moving targets. We've no idea what they were.
Put a line conditioner in. That's what the latest little bit.
While Rines' systematic sonar sweep is going smoothly, Wyckoff is rediscovering the difficulty of taking pictures in Loch Ness.
Well, that's all right.
Moisture has seeped in and ruined the camera. They will have to send for a replacement. The timing couldn't be worse.
Marty, come up here a minute.
Aboard the sonar boat, the fish finder has picked up a large target.
What you got? Got some very big echoes here on the surface.
Oh yeah. How deep are they?
They're not that deep. They're only about, 20 meters down?
You haven't had anything like that before?
No, I've never seen anything quite as big as that before.
Oh, goodness.
Good hard echo. Well, the side scan might pick that up. If it's not directly over it, it may not be directly over it.
If the side scan picks up the target, it may reveal more.
That's interesting.
But interpretation can be difficult. With sound waves bouncing off the steep sides, the loch is notorious for generating misleading sonar images. Even changes in the water temperature, or thermals, can create apparent targets where none exist.
That target should have been here by now. I see bottom returns. I don't see anything in the water column.
Could it be our beam is too low?
I think it is. We may not have gone over it yet. Maybe right there, but I think our fish is too low in the water. It's much closer to the bottom. The target that was seen on the sonar on the depth finder was high.
Whatever the target was, the towfish passed beneath it and failed to pick it up.
Rines to the camera crew. We had a whopping big target on Gordon's sonar, but unfortunately not on the side scan. Because
Still, it's a tantalizing start. Even Arne Carr is beginning to believe there may be something here.
I think there's a phenomenon here or something that is really interesting. Really, I would like to get an answer to. And we had a target today. It didn't look like a thermal to me. It looked more biological, but I don't know what it was.
For Rines, this unconfirmed hit is an encouraging sign. Could the creature he and thousands of others believe they have witnessed still be here? The sightings began when a new road gave travelers their first good views of Loch Ness. It was here, in 1933, that 2 local residents reported seeing an enormous animal rolling and plunging on the surface. An account of their sighting in the local paper brought the news of the beast to the rest of the world. The Loch Ness Monster has been a media phenomenon ever since.
Loch Ness, on which the eyes of the world are focused, the reputed haunt of a prehistoric monster or monsters, and the newly found adventure ground of modern Gullivers.
The intrepid, armed to the teeth, set out to capture the beast. To no avail. Capturing an image proved to be the next best thing. Some photographers resorted to outright fraud. Others succumbed to the loch's powers of deception. Boat wakes, wildlife, and floating debris have all been mistaken for monsters. But one photograph stood above the rest. Taken in 1934 and attributed to a reputable London surgeon, Dr. R. Kenneth Wilson, it seemed to show an unidentified animal surfacing at Loch Ness. For 60 years, it was the definitive image of Nessie. Until 1994, when a story broke claiming this classic photo was actually an elaborate hoax. The man responsible for the story was Alistair Boyd, a Nessie believer. In 1979, Boyd saw what appeared to be a huge animal in Loch Ness. That experience made him question the surgeon's photograph.
I was suspicious of a hoax, actually, to begin with, because I'd always felt that, firstly, the water texture in the surgeon's photo indicates to me that we're looking at a small object, probably no more than a foot high, and these are ripples rather than waves.
Boyd's investigation led to a man named Christian Sperling, who claimed that he and the surgeon, Dr. Wilson, had been part of a plot to dupe a London newspaper. The object in the photograph was a 1-foot plastic neck that Sperling had grafted to a toy submarine. This confession dealt a powerful blow to the Loch Ness Monster.
We don't know exactly where Wilson was when he took this photograph, or claimed to take the photograph,
But to American journalist Richard Smith, the confession didn't ring true.
And from that intersection of
With Rines' support, Smith has come to Loch Ness to find out if the hoax story may itself be a hoax.
see what we get.
It's extremely important to the Academy, to us, to the public, to know, is the photograph possibly real? Is the photograph possibly a hoax?
My research has shown that the circumstances, as best we know, surrounding the Wilson photo are consistent with Wilson's stories. I think that I'm willing to go out on a limb, as it were, and do this investigation. I think it's certainly worthwhile no matter what the outcome is.
Is this a 1-foot model photographed from up close, or the 4-foot neck of a living animal shot from a distance?
So to do comparison,
To find out, Smith has built floating necks, 1 and 4 feet high. His plan is to photograph them from different vantage points to see which one matches the original photo.
we're going to be 2 miles this side of Invermoriston.
Smith's experiment is possible only because of the discovery of a new version of the surgeon's photo.
One thing that's absolutely crucial to understand is that the familiar Nessie image, the familiar surgeon's photograph, is actually a cropped detail of a central portion of a much wider view.
The narrow strip of the far shoreline and the absence of near shoreline show how the picture was framed, and the ripples around the object provide another clue.
The circular disturbance is also very interesting because it's been used to calculate the angle at which the picture was taken, assuming that that's a round disturbance in the water, but of course we don't see it round because we're at an angle, it turns into an ellipse.
Analysis of the ellipse shows that the camera was pointing at an angle of 19 degrees down from the horizon.
This area changed a lot. Is the terrain different now?
Using these clues to guide his experiment, Smith has recruited a surveyor and a professional photographer to help him duplicate the surgeon's photo.
Changed very much at all.
Okay.
And put on the rangefinder, there we are.
19 degrees. Excellent. Let's see what we got. And that's very close. I think it's dead on to the original aspect ratio and the original scene.
You know, stretch right out with it. That's it.
Moved a little bit to this direction.
Down on the shoreline where Sperling said the photograph was taken, Smith tests the 1-foot model.
Is this matching the original photograph at all?
Yeah, the scale of the object is right, but it's far too far away.
So it's higher up in the picture.
Yeah.
So it seems like the problem is that when we get this thing more positioned than it's actually in the photograph, it becomes too big.
Much too big. The first one that was shot.
Okay, now this is the 4-foot high target.
Yes.
That's at, as I recall, this is at the 3-foot elevation.
The next morning, the team get their first look at the prints.
Okay.
That's correct.
Obviously.
To Rines and Wyckoff, the 1-foot model doesn't match the original photo. The 4-foot model is more convincing.
He's closer with the 4-foot model, but I don't know why.
Well, I think I may have a reason for that, which is when you put together the basic elements, the kind of camera Wilson claimed to have used, the position where he believed he was, and a target of about the size he reported, you come up with the photograph that he claimed to have taken. This is certainly, although not proof, it is, I think, some very compelling evidence that perhaps the original testimony of Lieutenant Colonel R. Kenneth Wilson was genuine.
Smith is convinced. Now it's up to the doubters.
It could be very possible that they could come up with a photographic experiment in which their picture will look a lot more like this. And I hope that will happen, but it needs to be done.
A short way down the loch, Alistair Boyd decides to take up Smith's challenge, with the ever-skeptical Shine lending a helping hand.
This looks about ideal, doesn't it? I mean, we just want to
With a 1-foot styrofoam model, they hope to prove the photo was a hoax.
surface.
They, too, are careful to angle their camera at 19 degrees.
Okay, Adrian, yeah, just coming into frame slightly. That's just back off slightly. That's good.
On the left is the recreation. On the right is the original. Despite the near-identical images, Smith has reservations.
See, now this is a very interesting experiment, and you're getting something which is certainly very close. One problem that I've always had, and it's certainly very much demonstrated by this, is the ripple patterns around the object. You can't reproduce them.
No, we were getting the ripple patterns. I'm sorry, we weren't getting ripple patterns.
I don't see them in the photograph.
Well,
Boyd's experiment shows that a 1-foot model can produce an image much like the surgeon's photo. The picture might be a hoax, but Boyd has no doubt that the creature in the loch is real.
The Leica camera, I know that the thing I saw was not a log or an otter or a wave or anything like that. It was a large animal. It came heaving out of the water, something like a whale. I mean, the part that was actually on the surface when it stopped rolling through was at least 20 feet long. It was totally extraordinary. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And if I could afford to spend the rest of my life up here looking for another glimpse of it, I would.
Day 3 of the expedition. With the camera still out of commission, Wyckoff has joined Rines aboard the sonar boat for a night run.
I just hope we get something tonight, though, because, I almost feel in my bones that something's going to happen.
You feel it, I'll feel it too.
All right, okay.
Just hoping.
That's where we'll get it if we get it.
Tonight, they will concentrate on Urquhart Bay, where the ruins of a 14th century castle overlook the deepest part of the loch.
And of course, this is the time, this is the circumstances in which the academies had luck back in 1972 and big things coming in.
After several hours of routine searching, there is a flurry of activity.
What the heck is that? We got a target.
That's a very hard return. That's a very hard return, very discreet.
A number of targets have appeared on the printout. One catches Arne Carr's attention. He estimates it is 5 meters, or 16 feet long.
Okay, tight 180 to port, and do a reciprocal of what you've already done.
Using the GPS relay system, they come about to search the same area again. If the target is still there on the second pass, it's probably stationary debris. If not, it's moving.
Gentlemen, we may just have seen Nessie.
It was a dense, discrete target, and what we expected to do is we did a quick reciprocal to come back over that target with the sonar, and we couldn't see it. It was gone. Hence, we saw it one time, went over the same area, didn't see it again. It's moving.
To marine biologist Arne Carr, the size and density of the mark on the printout indicate a large, solid mass, very different from a school of fish.
It's an unusual target, especially the density. I mean, a moving target we've had before, but one with such a density we haven't had. Well, if you get into like a whale or something like that, yes, you will find something that dense. Usually some of the whales obviously will be larger, but 5 meters is not small.
Carr's analysis makes photographic backup essential. The next morning, Wyckoff's team is back in action. They've replaced their video camera with a professional underwater model.
This camera is a much more sensitive camera, so we can see farther underwater, and it'll go deeper. The other camera was limited because we had a scuba diver's housing for it. We could only go down maybe 150 feet. This we can go down to several hundred meters.
This definition we're getting is just fantastic.
It really is.
With the new camera performing even better than expected, the expedition is back up to speed. There is a sense of anticipation that the long search is about to pay off with an exciting zoological discovery. If Nessie is an animal, as the eyewitnesses say, the implications extend well beyond Loch Ness. Long-necked monsters have been reported in northern lakes all over the world, from Lake Kayir in Siberia to Lake Champlain in North America. Could these other lake monsters be flesh and blood too? A small group of investigators believe these creatures might in fact be species as yet undiscovered by science.
We have multiple sightings of Ogopogo.
They call themselves cryptozoologists.
They pronounce Ness. So
now, from Lake Champlain, the descriptions seem to be much more serpentine, slender, longer, and not a long, thin head as much.
Which is long
but not like this.
Cryptozoology is dedicated to the study of cryptids, or unknown animals. In almost every case, a search is triggered by eyewitness reports, a source of evidence most scientists disregard.
Eyewitness evidence is completely useless in science. For science, something has to be repeatable. For repeatability, you have to have a specimen. You talk to an eyewitness, you've got no repeatability there. You can't go back in time and check what they saw.
But eyewitness evidence sometimes leads to remarkable discoveries. The okapi in 1901, the mountain gorilla in 1912, and in 1994, the pseudo-oryx in Vietnam. These were brand new species, unknown to science.
Science somehow has this blind spot. They've got to learn to evaluate eyewitness responses, emotional responses, and other things that are very real. They may not be anywhere near 100% accuracy, but they deserve to be fit into the totality of the evidence.
How are you?
Rines' conviction is shared by Roy Mackle, a pioneer in the field of cryptozoology. Mackle, a molecular biologist by training, came to Scotland in the 1960s and joined a local group of enthusiasts who kept a constant vigil on the loch. His work helped persuade Rines that there was something here worth investigating.
I came because I was curious, and all we had basically were a few still photographs, some of which have since turned out to be frauds. But the eyewitness observations, while the least valid evidence, nevertheless in some cases were very compelling.
I wonder if you could sketch the outline of what you saw, just as make a waterline and then make sort of sketch what you saw.
It's been 30 years since Mackle interviewed eyewitnesses, and the descriptions remain the same. Long before Sir Peter Scott and the Highland tourist industry made it popular,
Huge humps
people were convinced that Nessie was a prehistoric relic.
above water level. I went straight home, into the house, got out my book of prehistoric creatures, and the nearest I could liken it to was the plesiosaur.
Plesiosaurs were cold-blooded marine reptiles that coexisted with the dinosaurs during the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, feeding on fish in the warm inland seas.
They look like giant turtles with long necks. They swam rather like penguins. If you can imagine a giant penguin with 4 limbs going up and down, you've got a plesiosaur. As far as we can tell, they died out 70 million years ago.
But the oceans are home to a variety of prehistoric relics. from the massive megamouth shark discovered in 1976 to the coelacanth, a fish once thought to have died out at the same time as the plesiosaurs.
The coelacanth here is a very remarkable fish because it's a form that was thought extinct for 60 to 80 million years. And then all of a sudden it's found alive, the form is found alive in 1938. It proves that if it can happen once, it can happen again.
Could a small population of plesiosaurs have escaped extinction, taking up refuge in Loch Ness? The Loch's geological origins hold the answer. Loch Ness straddles the Great Glen, a massive geological fault that nearly cuts Scotland in two. As the land masses on either side of the fault slid by each other, they created an area of shattered rock, or breccia. Each time an ice age descended on the northern hemisphere, the glaciers returned, repeatedly carving out this breccia to form a deep basin.
As the ice moved down from the tributary valleys on either side of us, it got confined into the valley created along the fault, and it accelerated. And this acceleration deepened the floor of the loch. So we've got successive major glaciations, and during each one, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper into the fault breccia along the line of the fault. And then it opens out, the ice opens out at Inverness, and so it ceases to erode down. So that's why we've got an enclosed basin over 800 feet deep at this locality.
Plesiosaurs could not have survived in Loch Ness since the age of dinosaurs, because for much of that time, it was a solid block of ice. When the glaciers finally retreated 11,000 years ago, they left behind a deep pool of frigid water and a shallow passage to the sea, the River Ness. Could plesiosaurs have used the river to enter the loch since then? It's an unlikely scenario. Even if they had somehow escaped extinction in the open oceans, these cold-blooded reptiles would have had to adapt to the near-freezing temperatures of Loch Ness.
After carefully considering all of the evidence, most importantly, sonar contacts which give some idea of how these animals move and how fast they can swim. This convinced me that we had to have an aquatic mammal.
Warm-blooded mammals have the metabolism to thrive in cold water. And one primitive species of whale had a serpentine neck. It's known as an archaeocete.
This is a long snake-like whale known from the fossil record, thought to be extinct for 18 million years. But clearly some have survived, and this is not a surprise because we have other animals which were thought to be extinct 70 million years ago, and they're alive and well.
But can Loch Ness sustain a breeding colony of these animals? Adrian Shine and fish biologist Alan Butterworth have set out this morning to explain the loch's ecology.
Loch Ness is a huge body of water, more water than the whole of England and Wales put together, but it's very unproductive. There are very few chemical nutrients, you know, the fertilizers to start the food chain off. And the little microscopic plants have got another problem as well. There's very little light penetration, and I'm going to just show you here. This is called a Secchi disc, and it goes down, and I've got to see where I lose sight of it. So it's going down into the water. You can see how brown the watercolor is. It's gone at about 4 meters down. Now, that's pretty poor.
The dim light stifles plant growth, an effect that ripples up the food chain, starting with the tiny plankton that feed on vegetation.
Well, we're right in the middle of the loch. We're in the deepest part of the northern basin, and what we're looking at is the food source of the fish that live out here.
So I'm pulling up through some 30 meters of water. That's just about down to where the plankton go by day. They migrate downwards by day.
Yep. Well, what's happened, this is actually not a lot of animals in there, but when you think that that's from about 3 cubic meters of water, there's not a lot left, not a lot there to feed on. So the food supply is very poor.
Because of this limited food supply, the number of fish living in Loch Ness is surprisingly small for so large a lake. But there's another possibility. Migratory salmon which pass through the loch on their way to spawn.
You'll get quite large numbers passing up close on this shore. And these can be big fish, they can weigh up to 20 or 30 pounds. And we can work out that at most there will be something like 15 tons of salmon passing through the loch within a monthly period. That is still not a lot of food to support a population of large predators.
There is only one other plausible explanation for what Nessie might be: a visitor from the sea.
There is one creature, very reptilian in appearance. It is actually the largest fish you will ever see in fresh water, where it eats nothing. I think it's possible that the tradition itself was begun by Baltic sturgeon making the occasional entrance to the loch, not finding mates, and then going away again.
A large sturgeon could pass in and out of the loch undetected, as could a large eel. Eels have been known to reach 10 feet in length in the open ocean. Either one would explain the sonar hits. But the eyewitnesses don't buy it.
I, along with a friend, was on the south shore of Loch Ness fishing for brown trout. I saw an object surface. It was a large black object, a whale-like object, going from infinity up and came round onto a block end.
Retired Chief of Detectives for Inverness, Ian Cameron, along with 7 other people, reported one of the longest sightings on record, lasting almost an hour.
The nearest thing would be sort of the back of a massive elephant if you cut bits off and replaced it.
Have you ever gone out in the loch on a boat since?
Not in the life. I wouldn't go out in a small boat in Loch Ness, supposing you'd given me the whole earldom of the north.
Day 5. The loch is flat calm. A good day for Nessie hunting.
Now this is our last day with Arnie on the towing side scan. After that, we have to do fixed side scan.
Yep.
So we got to make the most of the day. Now we got all our bugs out of our equipment.
By now, Rines has complete faith in his battle-tested sonar team. The pressure is on the untried camera crew.
And you guys got to be ready.
We'll be ready.
The minute we get that target, come.
For today's last push, Rines has decided to focus again on Urquhart Bay.
But it's hard to say. They're rocks. Okay.
Late in the morning, the boat's fish finder records a target at a depth of 25 meters.
What have you got? Wow. What is it about? 10 meters, 20 meters? What? About 25 meters. 25 meters. We might pull that out on the sonar. We'll check it.
Charlie, we got a target on Gordon's seismometer here. Hoping the side scan will pick it up. Can you get over here with the cameras?
Righto, we're on our way.
Well, I've got 2 targets in the mid-water area over here on port, about 60, 65 meters.
Are you folks picking up anything now? Because we find a couple of targets off your port side, maybe about 50 meters.
Give that location again.
Towards us, as fast as you can, please.
The camera flips over if we go too fast.
Pull it out and come over then.
This is the expedition's biggest challenge, imaging a moving target underwater.
3 main targets, and they're spread out. If they moved off in that port side over to the left, they could probably pick it up with their camera.
We're getting mid-water targets here. 18 meters or so to port of us. Come as fast as you can.
I'm seeing a target. I'm seeing a target that's coming.
Look at the fish. Look at all those fish.
a small number of fish.
Well, that small number of fish may be attracting larger predators.
Barney says the small number of fish may be followed by some hungry predators.
We saw a small number of fish, but we haven't seen the hungry predator.
Minutes later, the target is out of range. Just when they seem closest to an answer, the team runs out of time. Wyckoff has learned the hard way that tracking and imaging a moving target in the murky waters of Loch Ness requires resources well beyond the means of this expedition. And something even money can't buy: luck.
Stay about where you are now from us.
But Rines has achieved his primary goal: finding out if there is still something here.
We certainly weren't arrogant enough to think that we can cover every single spot in this lake and look in there and find a target. What we did was the most probable things, at least in our judgment. And if we can intrigue, and I think we have intrigued this new generation to carry on, if there's enough excitement here about what we're doing, we will have accomplished a lot.
I don't think Bob Rines is crazy. He's obsessed, obviously, but I think the obsession is natural. It's a good human instinct. There's something here that needs to be answered, something here that needs to be proven.
Reports of monsters in Loch Ness demand skepticism, especially given its long history of hoaxes. And the evidence from biology and geology seem to rule out plesiosaurs or any other large resident predator. But a lake so deep could well have a few secrets left. Someday, a more plausible explanation may emerge. Perhaps an occasional visitor from the sea. Until then, the unexplained sonar hits and the conviction of the eyewitnesses will keep the legend of Loch Ness alive.
It was just big, I think is the best way to put it. So it certainly wasn't a seal, it certainly wasn't a fish, and all I can say is that I suppose that looking at the loch, that somewhere in there, there's a Loch Ness monster, and as far as I'm concerned, I've seen it.
Though I remain convinced of the sincerity of many of the eyewitnesses, the majority of sightings are actually boat wakes, and all the other hosts of illusion that you can get on Loch Ness, particularly on a calm day.
I saw what I saw, and I'm not going to be dissuaded. I know, and it wasn't just, an imagination, and I'm a sane guy. I've got no axe to grind. As I say, I sell pet food. What use to me is a Loch Ness monster?
Yeah, I could wake up tomorrow and find that the Loch Ness monster has just crawled ashore with a large sign saying, "Gah, boo, sucks, fooled you again." It wouldn't be the first time scientists have been wrong. We've been wrong before, we're going to be wrong again. And maybe there's something about Loch Ness we don't know after all.
In no way am I even attempting to convert anybody to the religion of the object in Loch Ness. But I saw it, and nothing can take that away.
The gorilla, the Vietnamese pseudo-oryx, the coelacanth, 3 animals that no one believed existed until they surfaced. Discover more once mythical creatures on NOVA's website. To order the show for $19.95 plus shipping and handling, call 1-800-255-9424 and To learn more about how science can solve the mysteries of our world, ask about our many other NOVA videos. NOVA is a production of WGBH Boston. Major funding for NOVA is provided by the Park Foundation, dedicated to education and quality television.
This program is funded in part by Northwestern Mutual Life, which has been protecting families and businesses for generations. Have you heard from the Quiet Company? Northwestern Mutual Life.
And by iOmega, makers of the 1 and 2 gig jazz drive, which lets you fit 834 million tons of concrete, glass, steel, and inspiration, all in a 4-inch square. iOmega, because it's your stuff.
And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like you.
This is PBS.